Joe's Inner Child Podcast.
Welcome back to the Inner Child Podcast. This is episode 101 and is the second part to episode 100 where I am the guest and Lexi and Nick interview me. This episode digs into my epilepsy, and even though I get a little bit emotional, there's a lot to be taken away from this. I genuinely believe you might learn a thing or two. I also want to take this opportunity to announce that in 2021, I will be releasing a nonfiction book about my epilepsy, the stigmas surrounding it, and all the side effects that people don't really know about. So be sure to look out for that as well. But for now, you get to listen to me ramble. Enjoy!
Literary Joe's Inner Child Podcast.
I know that you have epilepsy, and we definitely earlier in the year, not really that earlier in the year, I think it was November, you had to take a break because of how bad things have gotten, and Nick and I were covering all these podcasts, and it's like, as a friend, and it hurts to see you in pain, but is there anything you can tell us about it, or your journey from it, or anything you would just like to tell people about epilepsy in general?
So interestingly enough, and I'll try not to make this sound, I'll try to make this as happy and as positive as possible. Interestingly enough, I only recently found out why I even have epilepsy. For years and years, I didn't understand why. I had to go to multiple different doctors. Like, there was at one point when I had just turned 18 and I first started having seizures, that I had 3 different doctors all arguing with me and telling me that the other one was wrong. So one doctor thought I had narcolepsy, one doctor thought I had epilepsy, one doctor thought I had sleep apnea, because my specific type of epilepsy only happens in my sleep. So it's complicated to diagnose. And I didn't know at first why I had them. But eventually, when I started going to Cleveland Clinic a couple of years ago, they figured out that the reason what happens is I have scarring on my brain tissue right about here, because my dad, very short origin story. My dad tried to kill me when I was a kid. And at one point, he had slammed my head into a window twice. And so I have scar tissue here, which they had wanted to inject, I can't remember, like dye into my veins and make it so that it could light up like radioactive dye. So it'll light up and show you where the scar is and where the electricity is getting basically misfiring in your brain, and what's causing me to have the seizures. They wanted to do that and find it so they could do brain surgery. But the problem is the stress that came from being a 10-year-old that was almost killed by his father caused me to also have non-epileptic seizures. So I have epileptic and non-epileptic, both from the same event, but one physically and one emotionally, I guess you could say. So I started, what happens to me is it only happens while I'm asleep. And I will actually, when I first started having them, it was to where I was aware during it and I could remember it happening. So like when I started getting, right when I got out of high school, I think the biggest thing was my sleep schedule was off because I was out partying, doing whatever I wanted, and there's different stimulants that can trigger seizures. Right when I got out of high school, sorry, my dog knows I'm getting emotional. So right when I got out of high school, I started to have seizures where I would wake up and be basically frozen, like paralyzed. And essentially, sometimes I would see things, like I would see like a shadow or like a face or a person that isn't there. Like it'll be in the bedroom. I'll see things in the bedroom that aren't there, like a bat in the room, or like my friend's girlfriend like on a treadmill, like things that just don't make sense. And so I get paralyzed seeing these things, and my brain is just like stuck. And so my eyes start to like roll back, and like they try to like roll all the way back, but they can only roll so far back. That hurts a lot. This part of my brain, like you'll be able to see like a vein stick out here. And I essentially start seizing. My girlfriend says that she'll hear me breathing, like, and when I could remember what it was like, it felt like I just kept trying to like pull myself forward, but over and over, it's like, and people just imagine like the shaking, but honestly, the shaking isn't like the easiest part. It sucks, and it's scary as fuck being trapped inside your own body. But now that my case has progressed to the point where I can't even, if I'm aware during it now, I couldn't even tell you, because it's so bad that I go into an after state where for like 45 minutes, I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to do anything. Amanda has to guide me. When I lived in my old place, I fell over the railing from the second floor and like fucked up my back because I don't know. I don't know anything until I come out of it. And when I come out of it, it's like I am fucking out of it. But like they try to explain to me over and over again. Like the first thing I usually remember is, Joe, you had a seizure. Joe, you had a seizure. Joe, you had a seizure. But they have to tell me like 15 times because I'm just like a child, like whiny and like and like I was trying to call off work the one time because I knew I needed to call off work, but because I was out of it, I was like, I need to call my teacher. I need to call my teacher. Like it just doesn't make sense. And like I basically just regressed to like a 3-year-old. Like I remember the one time I had grabbed like my Boma pop vinyl and I just was like holding it like a doll or something.